another episode of CINEMAWARS. Today's prompt being, what is the best Pixar movie? Kicking us off being, he was here earlier in the season. He's back for another episode, Crazy Kyle.
Yeah, Helmer, I'm glad to be here. I was really disappointed by coming last place during my first CINEMAWARS return of the season. So I have to redeem myself. Some tough competition here. So I love Pixar. I'm a big Disney fan. I'm a big animation fan. So I'm hoping I can bring the fire.
Another guy you're facing today, CINEMAWARS vet, it's Rod.
I almost spoke with myself muted, but hi, I'm back.
He's usually hosting. This season he's playing. It's Luke.
Thank you for having me. I'm not used to being on this side of the desk. I haven't done this in many years, but it should be fun.
For sure, final season, we got to try some things out. Luke potentially has the chance to redeem himself this year. Never had a CINEMAWARS win before. All right, the CINEMAWARS rules, guys. There will be 3 rounds, the opening statement, 3 rebuttals, and the closing statement. There will be a cinema-related prompt. In this case, what is the best Pixar movie in which competitors must find an answer for? Wheel will be spun to determine who will pick their answer first. Competitors will argue on behalf of their answer and will debate against the other competitors. The judge, or in case the judge, just being me, will grade each competitor out of 5 points for the opening, closing rounds, and 10 points for the rebuttal round. The competitor with the most will be declared the winner. So, of course, spin again. We don't try to have it on the wheel. It just kind of pops up. Let's see. You'll be going first. Wow. Rod,
This is a first. Oh, my goodness. I am so happy.
Rod, you have 1 minute.
I'm choosing the Pixar's The Incredibles as my aha. That's right, Luke. That's right. I am choosing The Incredibles. Reason why I'm choosing The Incredibles is, one, I still think it's one of the best superhero movies we have today, even 20 years later now. 2, it's a much more mature Pixar movie, just a mature film than even all of us were expecting. There are still things that when we saw it for the first time back in 2004 as kids that we didn't pick up on. Now we're looking at it 20 years later and like, oh my goodness, this is very deep, very mature for a kid's superhero film. The animation style is beautiful. The music's incredible. One of the deepest, more complex villains we've had in an animated film. So yeah, The Incredibles.
Limitless possibilities. Crazy Kyle, Luke, here you go. One answer has already been sniped.
I don't think he's going to snipe
Kyle.
I don't think so. I'm going to choose a different Brad Bird film. I'm going to choose Ratatouille. I think, to me, Ratatouille is the quintessential Pixar film. I think every single moment that I've watched Ratatouille, I've always felt the feelings of Remy. I've felt the feelings of Linguini. I've understood their motivations. And I've related to the message a lot that you can follow your dreams even if there is challenges in your way or you're facing adversity. Anyone can be a cook. Anyone can be anything. And I think it's a message that really resonated with me when I was younger, and it still resonates with me now. I think as far as the story goes, the villain is very scary and very and very compelling. I think his motivations of what he wants to do to ruin Linguini's career is very good. And I love the movie a lot, and I think it's one of the most creative messages and one of the most creative stories that Pixar has ever told. And it's a film that I love. So Ratatouille is my pick. I'm
going to be myself, and I'm going to go with Cars, because Cars is the best Pixar movie. It is one of my absolute favorite movies of all time. Let's start with one thing. The opening race, it looks fantastic. It's one of the best looking Pixar movies, how the lights shine on the reflection of the cars, and that continues throughout the movie. There's lots of fun little car-related Easter eggs that keen watchers can latch onto. But the biggest positive film is the character arc that our protagonist, Lightning McQueen, goes through. He learns about life. Not everything in life is about winning. You have to slow down and enjoy the moments with your close ones. He makes some good friends. He learns the simple things in life. But most importantly, how influential this movie was, especially to my generation. Ask 90% of the boys my age, they absolutely love this movie. It's influenced their love for maybe further things like Formula One. In my case, it influenced my career aspirations in engineering, maybe something to do with cars. And I think for a movie to do that at the young age is very, very good.
That is the end of the round, guys. Scores will now be calculated. All right, so round 1 has finished. 3 distinct Pixar movies have been picked, starting with Rod with the first pick. Saw the passion there, saw the energy, thought the argument was a bit too vague. Kyle is next. related it back to his personal life, talked about what Ratatouille was about, how it influenced him and everything like that, which I really liked. However, it got a bit too, when he talked about the villain, I just didn't really get the point of that in relation to everything else we were talking. It just seemed a bit pointless. Luke, similar thing as Kyle, but it was kicked up a notch in terms of his personal connection to the film. You can see the passion there, and also just relating it. Our Cars was made, obviously, it was 06 it was made, so over 15 years old at this point. So talking about how it's aged. The score as of right now, Luke ahead at 3.9, Kyle second place 3.7, Rod at 3.5, guys. 0.4 separating first from last. A whole lot of game to go, especially in the rebuttal round with whole 10 points each. Whoever wants to get started.
Luke, I love you. Cars is one of my Pixar movies that I grew up with. I probably watched it more than any other Pixar movie, except maybe Ratatouille or The Incredibles. But Cars is high up there, probably the number one. But it's just, are we children? No, Cars just doesn't stand the test of time like other Pixar movies. 20 years down the line, no one will think about Cars in the way that we think about The Incredibles or Ratatouille. I'm sorry, it's just the truth. And given your point about the first race is so hype. I love the first race when they're playing like Real Gone and he's just driving. I love that first race. But let's be honest, I think Cars suffers from the same syndrome of like something like Up, where it peaks at that first scene. It just peaks very early on. And Ratatouille, I feel, continuously remains the same in terms of consistency, and it's always at that constant 9 to 10 range. It never dips really. The Incredibles, I would say it doesn't dip either, but I wouldn't say it's the best Pixar movie. It just has some fundamental issues that I think is not in Ratatouille. I think the messaging of The Incredibles is not quite as strong as in Ratatouille. I love The Incredibles. I think I love a film about family, but I think my film is more about family and more heartfelt than anything. I think Brad Bird really corrects what he does in Incredibles and just amplifies it so much to a higher level when he does Ratatouille.
Oh, Kyle.
And by the way, Skinner is as good as villain as Syndrome. I'm sorry. I'm gonna just say
what?
Skinner's as good as villain as Syndrome.
See, hold on. That's your first problem right there, Kyle. I forgot the name of the villain until you just said it. Skinner? Is that the guy from The Simpsons? Skinner's
a short little chef guy.
Oh, whatever. He is not as deep or as complex as Syndrome, because Syndrome's origin started way in the beginning, back in the Incredible prologue, which, speaking of prologues, is the best prologue. Not from Cars, not from Ratatouille. No, it's The Incredibles. It ranks right up there. Hey, Kyle, you had the time in the sun. Let me.
I'll come back. I'll come back to you. I'll come back to you.
A moment here, okay? All right. Now, as I was saying, there's so many great things that happen at the beginning of the movie that get called back upon later. We get to see Mr. Incredible in his glory days before he gets married to Helen. And then we have that flashback of years later. He's struggling, right? This is why I'm talking about the complexities of the film. We're dealing with things of midlife crisis, wanting to relive glory days with Mr. Incredible. When have we seen that? Before The Incredibles? When have we seen that before? Really, in an animated film or a Pixar film?
Luke, I'm going to let you respond in 1 second. I just need to just quickly rebuttal this. What's more human than seeing Linguini's growth throughout the entire film of Ratatouille, where he's a bumbling little trash boy and he's working all his way up to the head chef through the help
hearing when Mr. Incredible is captured and he's hearing his family about to die in a plane crash. That's more human.
And The Incredibles being the best prologue, miss me with that. I think both Luke and I have better prologues. Like the callback in The Incredibles is great, but there's nothing better than when Remy's in the old lady's kitchen and she just pulls out the gun on him. That's just insane. That's insane. And I already talked about how much I love Luke's opening to Cars. I love the opening to Cars so much. It's so hype. It gets you hyped up. And I think The Incredibles has an amazing callback, but that's not just a prologue. I think the prologue, it stretches out to the whole movie. I think it's consistent and it works, but it's not the best prologue of Pixar. Luke, you can go.
Okay, Kyle, my turn. You say the movie peaks the first race. I never said the movie peaks the first race. It is a perfect sandwich of two races that are equally hype. I would say the second race is more hype. The octane rushing. Yes, come on.
No.
The championship.
It peaks in the beginning. Cars peaks in the beginning.
A three-way tie for the championship. That was so good that it happened in real. Cars is peak for all 2 hours in its runtime. The last race is absolute peak. the moment where he stops in front of the finish line, goes back to help King win the race, the whole message of the movie coming full circle, it can make a grown man cry. Kyle, you said
It took us
that
2 hours to get to that point. I'm just saying.
That's a great 2 hours because the whole movie is a whole vibe. There's great songs. Kyle already mentioned Real Gone at the beginning. Life is a Highway with a beautiful Pixar animation driving through the roads of USA.
Yes, the soundtrack, the most important part of a film.
You were talking about the score in your movies as well. So, and the score in this one is great. Randy Newman cooking as always. You said that it doesn't stand the test of time. People still use this movie to reference things in real life. Look at what's happening with Ronaldo and using Lightning McQueen in Cars 3 to reference that. All that foundation is
from
Cars 1.
Both Ratatouille and Incredibles is more than Cars. Luke, you're kidding yourself here. You're coping too hard. And
let's talk about the influence of Cars. It is, I believe, is Disney's most profitable franchise. Just
it
overall,
sells a lot because people
Cars, but because it's good. People love it.
No, it's not because it's good. It's not because it's
why do kids draw Cars red? Lightning McQueen. The influence is there.
Look, you know what? Transformers is profitable too. Those movies suck.
My movie is funnier than both of yours. The adult jokes land better.
That's not true.
Flashing of the headlights.
Not true. Cars is not funnier
than Ratatouille. Cup. Incredibles. I think it gets better with age, so kids can't enjoy it quite as much as my movie. Ratatouille. I was very scared of the old lady at the beginning when I was a kid, so I didn't like it as much. But now I love it a lot.
Okay. Alex, let me cook here for a minute. At the time it gives me.
All right, let him cook.
I'm gonna go to Luke here. Yes, as you mentioned about profitable. Yeah, we've seen that with Transformers. Those movies are hot garbage, aside from 2007's first one. With my film, The Incredibles, people were begging and clamoring for a sequel. I wasn't clamoring to see another Ratatouille. I wasn't clamoring to see another Cars. Sure,
and that sequel sucks, by the way. Incredibles 2 is bad.
Hey, we're
it doesn't build
about
upon the first
Incredibles 1. We're not talking about.
Well, don't bring up the sequel then. Don't say that.
Conversation for another.
I'm sorry that your film
time,
sucks.
Alex, I want more time.
Continue,
Alex, please. Thank you, sir. To that point, let me talk about the funniest of the three. Wrong. I think Ratatouille is funnier than Cars, and I think The Incredibles is funnier than Cars. I even mentioned Edna Mode and her thing about no capes. That's hilarious. Syndrome with his little adult jokes about, oh, you got busy with Mrs. Incredible? Oh, you know, I even bring up the best joke about where's my super suit from Frozen. We are still talking about that. That's still a meme till this day. Okay, yeah, Remy and all that in the peak third car race. You're on board. Seeing the family finally come together, defeating Syndrome, that was peak. Y'all.
The final cooking scene in Ratatouille is much more peak than seeing anything in The Incredibles. I don't know what you're talking about, Rod. What are you talking about?
What do you make, like a burger or something? About? I don't even know what was so peak about Ratatouille.
That's a transcendent moment in cinema that
we're gonna end it.
Anyone can relate to.
He said we're ending it. It's over.
It's done, Kyle.
It's over. You just flashback.
Our three competitors, Kyle kicked it off. I felt like this was a step down from Kyle's round one performance. I thought he started a bit too early, and then the constant interruptions. I don't feel like there was too much substance. And then I felt like the whole thing, and this also lost some points from Rod as well. The whole prologue argument I felt was too unimportant in the grand scheme of things. Unfortunately, Rod went down that rabbit hole and continued down. It felt like a Trump-Biden golf debate type debacle where you're like going down. It doesn't really matter. They just
that was the best part of that debate.
So. But Rod picked it up late. He was very specific. Luke, really strong, the most well-rounded of all the arguments, talking how his movie is a vibe. It made a profit. Scores are as follows before we get to the final round. Luke maintains his lead. He's at 11 points. Rod at 10.6 at second place. Kyle at third place at 10.5. Still 0.5 points separating first from last. Luke still maintains the lead, but can you carry it home? We're going to start with Kyle here in the final round. You have 1 minute on the clock.
Everything about Ratatouille just hits perfectly. I'm going to point to some specific moments. I think the ending of Ratatouille, where it ends with Remy achieving his dream of having his own restaurant, and Anton Ego, one of like the secondary kind of main villains, not really, in the film. eating there. And I think that's a beautiful sentiment to end it on. I think Linguini's growth throughout the whole film from the start to the end is really heartfelt. And I think seeing Remy's dad specifically be welcomed and embrace his son to being a cook is something that really resonated with me when I was younger. I think the aspects of Incredibles, I think Brad Bird tackles the family aspects much better in Rad 2. I think it's just an improvement on it. And with Cars, I just don't think it has that heartfelt message that I love to see from Pixar and what I've come to expect from Pixar. I think Ratatouille just strives to be above the rest. I think in many ways it's Pixar's best film and its most ambitious film. And some things in both Incredibles and Cars just don't hold up as well.
In closing about The Incredibles, we live in this age of comic book movies and superhero films where we're getting about 3 or 4 comic book movies every year, and they're all varying degrees of quality. And when we look back 20 years ago, The Incredibles, I can probably attest, still stands as one of the best comic book movies we've had so far this year, and we owe a lot to The Incredibles. For what has come later down the road in the comic book properties that we've gotten. I thought Brad Bird did an incredible job directing. This was his second directorial effort after The Great Iron Giant and giving us a very deep and complex comic book film and really delving into its themes. As a comic book fan myself, I'm a big MCU fan. I love my explosions and stuff. But every once in a while, it's nice to get this a nice film about family. And the importance of family and the importance of, listen, Kyle. You can laugh all you want about how you think Ratatouille is better. I think The Incredibles family aspect is better. I don't see Ratatouille getting a sequel.
Cars, I think its legacy cannot be understated. In Disneyland, of course, we know the Cars land, and when the sun goes down, they play the Shaboom song, and that's something that I don't think can be recreated for any other Pixar film. Just that sheer wonder. But we haven't really talked about the cast in any of our movies, and the Cars cast is such a colorful cast. Of course, Owen Wilson as a protagonist, Lightning McQueen, but I think Cars is one of the biggest pieces of legacy Cars has, is that it was one of Paul Newman's last roles as the immortal Doc Hudson, and he's one of the best parts of the movie.
Scores have been inputted. Kyle currently in last place. It was more of the same from the first round. I didn't think it was necessarily a huge improvement, but not as much of a defeat as his round 2 performance. I just feel like he needs to be more insistent. Kyle, you need to be more insistent with your arguments. There was a lack of passion and lack of kind of outside knowledge that I think prevented you from the dub today. Rod, his most well-rounded argument, I think, talking about timeline of when his film was made, when The Incredibles was made, how it impacted the time, how it's kind of evolved with the evolution of the comic book genre. Luke, his weakest thus far, he started off hot with the Disneyland point. However, he didn't use his time effectively, still leaving around 15 to 20 seconds left on the clock. The cast point I felt was a tad irrelevant. And then the Paul Newman thing at the end was a bit of a, I don't know, I'm trying to say I'm biased here. He's trying to pander to me, but I didn't even think it was developed
I had
well.
to get it in there.
He didn't even think it, like, he still is. It was a lot of time left on the clock. So yeah. So scores have been inputted, and these are the results. And your winner, Luke Reviews and Rod.
Let's go. That's the best outcome.
You had a tie game of
Let's go.
14.1 to 14.4 and 14.4. Guys, you won in a tie. You guys, a two-way tie in the lead. Luke, I'm sorry. Your argument really didn't persuade me, and it was really lackluster. Rod, much more evolved and much more kind of constructive.
The Incredibles was my other pick, so I think this is the best case scenario. But this is my first CINEMAWARS win. It is quite the honor, and to share it with Rod, a longtime competitor who I've hosted many matches with, and even greater.
Alex, this is my first CINEMAWARS win too. So I'm excited to share with Luke. This is such an honor. So I'm happy. Congrats to Kyle too for coming close. I don't know what to say.
I can't blame anyone but myself. I feel like I've been fumbling. I've been fumbling. The first one was an Oscar pool. I should have won that Cinema Wars battle this season. This was Pixar. These are in my wheelhouse. I don't know what I'm doing. I think what I need to do is prepare better. When you tell me the topics, I just got to prepare. Think of it beforehand, not just come in free blazing and just trying to run with the punches. And you know, Rod and Luke, they're two competitors I respect a lot. They're great. They're great guys, great friends. So you know, they just played the game better. And you know, next time, the third one, guys, I don't care what it is, I'm coming out with a dub. It's just about the mindset. I'm winning this next Cinema Wars that I'm in. You can count on that. You know what? League of Cinephiles, you can count on that. Crazy Kyle is coming for the win. He's coming for the win.
So that's going to end it for this episode of Cinema Wars. Luke and Rod come out on top. It has officially been declared Cars and The Incredibles the best Pixar movies. Let us know in the comments below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Were there some movies that were left out? Do you agree with some of the picks that were picked by our three competitors today? Be sure to let us know. Like the video. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. More Cinema Wars. I promise a lot more consistent Cinema Wars to be brought to you guys in the next couple of weeks. So make sure you tune into those as well as our movie trivia content and so much more. Thank you guys. We'll see you all soon. Ciao.